Hey you! Yeah, you! The schmuck who clicked on this video. I need you to clean the wax out of your ears and listen to me very carefully. The devil, that's right, the Prince of Darkness himself, is en route to drag your ass down to hell. Why? Oh come on, stop feigning ignorance. We all know why. You know what you did, you sick fuck. Now I bet by now you're quaking in your boots just at the mere thought of seeing Satan face to face. But fear not, I have some good news, sinner. You see, the devil told me, yes, me, Scott Phantasm, a YouTuber with not even 50 subscribers, that he wants to make a deal with you. He will turn his red ass around right now and head back to hell, never to bother you again, so long as you do him one small favor. Oh great, I can hear that you've stopped hyperventilating and pissing yourself. That's just fantastic. Okay, so what is it the devil needs you to do? Take out your phone, go to your respective app store, and download Raid Shadow Legends, baby!
The devil. 1, 2, 3!
Satan, Lucifer, mosquitoes. The Prince of Darkness goes by many names, but most commonly in media he is referred to as the devil. We all have some vague image in our minds of what the devil is. As a metaphor, he's almost cartoonishly malicious, a representation of all sins. And physically, he's dark red with minotaur-like features like bullhorns and hoofed feet. But even so, there are no hard and fast rules about how the devil should look and behave, as South Park reminds us of.
But you know we belong together.
My life is good now, Saddam. Chris treats me well. You and I are through. Goodbye.
Being a biblical and mythological being, the devil is believed to be all-powerful. In media, this is best showcased by the devil making quote-unquote deals with mortal beings in exchange for their quote-unquote souls. This deals with the devil trope piqued my interest as I rummaged through my brain, trying to think of a new video idea. I wanted this video to be a departure from my previous two, but not stray too far from my main focus, covering independent projects. With that being said, in this video we'll be looking at 3 pieces of independent media that tackle the deals with the devil's storyline. That's 1 short film, 1 musical performance, and 1 video game. We'll examine how each piece of media portrays the devil, why a deal is struck with him in the first place, and wonder just why we have this fascination with souls so much. This is the deepest dive a video essayist can take. A ride all the way into hell. Not Retribution, because that game fucking sucks. Let's rock.
Check this rip, it's fucking tasty!
Before we talk about how the devil is portrayed in the modern day, we must first commit the sin of beating a dead horse and telling yet another origin story. But this one isn't as straightforward as your D&D character you spent 10 minutes creating. See, the exact origins of the devil are still debated today by many religious scholars. Most religious texts mention some abstract, malicious force, mainly because throughout human history, people have needed a way to explain all the horrific things about life like famine, disease, and war. But the term, the devil, is the most well-known representation of malintent because of Christianity. During the 4th century, the Roman Empire adopted Christianity as their official religion, spreading its influence all over Europe and Asia. Christianity is known as an Abrahamic religion, one that worships only one God. Some scholars believe the devil first appears in the book of Job. In this story, Job is a devout Christian with a loving family and a very happy life. The devil takes notice of this and makes a bet with God. Satan says that if God were to make Job's life miserable, Job would no longer believe in him. Being an omnipotent being bored out of his gourd, God kills Job's children, his livestock, and even covers Job with boils. What a being worth worship. After all his inconceivable tragedy, Job says, "Shall we receive good from God and shall we not receive evil?" Meaning, does good come from God and evil come from somewhere or someone else? This begins the dichotomy of good and evil. All of your cartoon characters with angels and devils on their shoulders, yeah, that's where this comes from. Now remember what I said. There's still no consensus on where the devil originates. Some think the devil is the snake from the Garden of Eden, coaxing Adam and Eve into eating the forbidden fruit from the tree of knowledge. Some think the devil was first an angel of God who fell from grace, as stated in the book of Isaiah in the Bible. Some think the devil comes from the Old Testament. Some think the devil is a minor character. Some think he plays a major role. It's all pretty confusing, but basically what you need to know is the devil was created to help rationalize all the quote-unquote evil in the world, and Christianity depicts him only as a force or an angel that fell from grace in spite of God. Now, something religious texts don't really do is describe what the devil looks like. You see, long before DeviantArt, devil stands would paint, draw, and write about their mischievous senpai. Much of what influences our perception of the devil physically comes from artwork of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, but perhaps the most iconic depiction of Satan comes from Italian poet Dante Alighieri. In 1472, Dante published Inferno, a poem about Dante escaping from Satan through the 9 circles of hell. Dante describes the devil in Inferno as a quote-unquote red, bat-winged beast. Going forward, this poem would serve as a foundation on which many other works of fiction would build upon in regards to the devil. As time passed, other interpretations of the devil rose to prominence. In 1662, English poet John Milton depicted the devil as a dissenter, someone who started a rebellion against God because as a result, the devil, who is named Lucifer in Milton's Paradise Lost, is cast out of heaven and sent to hell. And ladies and gentlemen, all instances of seeing someone wearing a pentagram necklace or devil horns on any other day than Halloween can be traced back to Paradise Lost. His famous poem inspired interpretations of the devil not as an evil force, but as a symbol of rebellion.
You know what Satan's like? Charming, super intelligent, really friendly.
Leading to the commodification of modern-day Satanism. Though worshipping Satan can be traced all the way back to the time of Dante, it's best recognized for its 20th century insurgence. In 1966, the Church of Satan was officially established by Anton LaVey, a carnival worker who was fascinated by the devil. He interpreted him as more of a symbol of rebellion against organized religion rather than a symbol of mindless chaos.
Man can no longer fall back on established religion as a sort of identity, a collective identity. And occultism is a sort of do-it-yourself God kit, in whatever form it takes.
Followers of LaVeyan Satanism believe that the public perception of Satanism is distorted, and that really their religion is founded on principles of autonomy and questioning authority. In 1969, the Satanic Bible was written by LaVey and continues to be the main doctrine that Satanists follow. As per the Satanic Bible, Satanists don't view the devil as an external being, but rather a philosophy grounded in anti-Abrahamic thought. Since the dawn of religion, the idea of the devil has existed and evolved alongside our culture. He's been a symbol of evil, a symbol of suffering, and even a symbol of resistance to the status quo. Now let's see how these ideas have influenced modern media.
I think when you're like starting to make stuff and it's all new and you're trying different stuff and you're experimenting and you're curious about, oh, what of mine are people responding to? What's people not like? What do I like? It's just a big time of exploration. I think it's good. It's always good, and I've said it before, but at the end of that experiment, if you find out it didn't work, it's just as valuable if you find out that it did work.
So now that we have a good understanding of how the devil has been characterized throughout history, let's examine our 3 deals with the devil pieces of media, starting with The Devil and Daniel Webster. Written in 1936 by author Stephen Vincent Bennett, the short story centers around a man named Jabez Stone. Now, covering the original short story and its film adaptation is not something I want to do in this video. Instead, we're going to analyze this, The Devil and Danny Webster, a 2010 short film created by YouTuber Dom Farah. Why? Because I left this comment. If the name Dom Farah sounds familiar at all, it's because this is the same guy who made...
Oh my god, it's Alfred Molina!
Dr. Octagonopoulos.
Farah has created several short films, some of which I actually may cover in future videos, but today we're going to look at his rendition of The Devil and Daniel Webster. No, not this one.
I'd just like to say that I deserve everything I have, and in no way sold my soul to the devil. What? Foreshadowing.
This one.
Hi, I'm the devil.
Farah's The Devil and Danny Webster takes place in a modern-day high school and follows freshman Jason Stone.
Oh my gosh, I'm having deja vu, Stone and Webster!
It's the first day of freshman year, and Jason and his friend Danny have a brilliant idea that will definitely make them well-liked.
I hated Pulp Fiction!
After being humiliated in front of all the people he tried to impress, Jason storms off and gets this off his chest.
I just wanted change. I needed change.
I think we just tried too hard.
I'm just sick of it, Danny. I'm sick of not getting a second look. I'm sick of not having a girlfriend.
Well, Candace was obviously interested.
She told me my fly was down.
You know what I got from that? She was looking.
Now, Danny gives some pretty suave advice, actually, but it's not enough to convince Jason to think positively, so again he leaves. But this time he's confronted by somebody new.
Hi, I'm the devil.
After hearing about Jason's plight, the devil herself appears before Jason with a deal.
4 years of success. I'll pave the way to your future. No more of this same stuff, Jason. That's my final offer.
Am I missing something here?
Look, we both want something. You want to be noticed, and I want your soul.
How about we continue this conversation outside? You know, where other people can see us talking?
Our devil here changes forms multiple times throughout the film, which I can appreciate since it gives multiple actresses the opportunity to show us how they interpret the devil. I also really liked her snarky attitude. Like, she knows she's just manipulating Jason, not just for his soul, but because she actually enjoys it. This playfulness is something that will remain constant throughout the video, you'll notice. Although Jason is confused about what exactly Scratch means by soul.
What do you mean, like, in my shoe?
He signs the contract with his own blood and is granted 4 years of admiration, respect, and a girlfriend. But like most popular kids in high school, it all comes to an end just around graduation.
What the?
No.
Get your head in the game, man. You were wide open.
Or what is this? Are you...
Time's up. It's the end of the fourth quarter.
Scratch then explains why she has multiple forms.
So why do you look, like my age? I didn't really think Satan was a kid.
Well, I present myself in the form most fitting for the situation.
What do you really look like?
I could show you, but are you fond of your face? Well, I just mean, like, it would probably melt off.
But something even more interesting than that to me is how souls are explained here.
Why? Is there some sort of soul extractor thing?
Excuse me?
I'd like to take out my soul with.
You can't take the soul out, Jason. I'm taking you.
A soul isn't...
Some little ghost inside of you.
The soul and the person are one and the same. Scratch attempts to take Jason to hell, but he hightails it out of there. However, it isn't very long until Scratch catches up to him. As Jason is being dragged into outdated After Effects, his two only friends that he left behind after selling his soul try to pull him up, and then they leave to get help, but then come back again to save him. But where's the help? Whatever the case, they do free him from the shackles of Scratch, if only for a moment. But when Scratch inevitably returns for Jason, Danny Webster, head of his high school's law club, tells Scratch that he is suing her.
Miss Devil, my name is Daniel Webster. I'm the head of the Newham High Law Club, and I do believe I'm suing you.
Scratch is almost insulted. Sue the devil? But Danny explains that Jason was misled and that he wants to represent him in court. Still, Scratch is hell-bent on bringing Jason to, well, hell. However, at this point, Jason knows Scratch well enough to convince her to go through with the trial.
It could be fun.
Danny's attempt to sue Scratch is a success, and soon all 4 of our characters are in a courtroom with a zombie jury? Danny requested an all-American jury, but he
never said they had to be living.
I wonder what they all did to end up in hell.
This group here was responsible for the death of their 32-year-old math teacher. Beat him to death with their textbooks. Cruel, but also pretty funny.
So we got the defendant, the prosecution, the jury. Where's our judge?
Sup? So what's his deal? Is he like a demon or something?
Nope. Old Jeremiah there's just kind of a jerk. Very hard to please.
Okay.
To put your odds in perspective, he hated the Dark Knight.
This ain't your Danganronpa or Ace Attorney shit. This is about to get real fast. Danny first makes the case that the contract between Scratch and Jason is null and void, since it was signed in blood rather than ink, and that since it was signed on American soil, it isn't recognized as a legitimate contract. A solid argument indeed, Mr. Webster. but Scratch's rebuttal ultimately destroys it.
You see, kind jury members, I operate under a different law. My law. And my law pertains to souls and souls only. Mr. Stone here signed a contract under my law, under my terms, in my specific field. I'd very much enjoy for you to read about your government's side on foreign laws and contracts signed under a different government. Because when Jason Stone signed my contract with his blood, that was under my government. Just consider me the president of another country. Somewhere from the, deep south.
At a loss, Danny puts his head on the desk like a real high school student would. Jason feels horrible. All hope seems lost, and it looks as though they're about to lose the trial. As Jason begins to apologize to his two friends, he says,
"Look, guys, just know that I didn't do any of this on purpose. I was so confused. She had me pinned up against the wall."
This line of dialogue gives Danny an idea. He gets up and tells Scratch that there is no proof that Jason and Scratch ever signed a contract together. After all, that could be anybody's blood. Triggered, Scratch pulls up a tube TV and shows footage of Jason signing the contract in blood, but also shows footage of her using force on Jason, forcing him to stay and consider the contract. This shocks both the judge and the jury and leads to the court ruling in favor of Jason, Danny, and Mary, was it?
You should talk more.
Well, I was...
Anywho,
The three friends celebrate and Scratch even congratulates Danny on his win before vanishing to probably go use force on other vulnerable kids. And that's pretty much where this ends. Jason gets his old friends back and learns a very, very important lesson. Dealing with the devil does not benefit you, as we'll see in our next piece of media.
We have Mr. Jack Black on Community this week. He's an up-and-coming actor, and I'm proud that we're giving him his first big break. So it's great to launch people on the show, you know. So I mean, I'm really proud of us for making a really daring casting decision.
Okay, so look, I know I said
I wanted this video to be a departure from my previous two, but not stray too far from my main focus, covering independent projects.
But I need to talk about a movie with a nearly $20 million budget starring an A-list actor whose net worth is nearly twice that.
Hey! What are you doing?
Dude, if you get the nachos stuck together, that's one nacho.
Jack Black and his friend and fellow co-star Kyle Gass, sometimes referred to as star in 2006's Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny. The film tells a fictional story about how Tenacious D, Jack Black's real band, originated. Hey, it even tells where the name comes from. But why am I even talking about this? What does this have to do with the devil? Well, everything. You see, the plot goes like this. Young Jack Black runs away from his home when his strict religious parents don't support his dream of
Fucking rocking all the time.
As an adult, JB meets KG, a local guitar player that Black begins to idolize. The two hit it off, form Tenacious D, and soon thereafter learn the legend of the Pick of Destiny from Ben Stiller.
So one night I'm working a gig up in New Jersey or something. Some real mediocre band. Lead guitarist comes out, starts shredding licks way beyond his capabilities. Like shit that had to be coming from somewhere else. I noticed he was using a new pick. Weird looking thing, with horns on it. Made of green ivory or some shit. It was the pick, it wasn't him. He didn't know what he had though. End of the show, he flicks it back into the audience. Some kid catches it. Kid named Eddie. Eddie? Van Halen.
This guitar pick is said to be made of Satan's tooth, and was granted powers that make anyone who uses it a rock legend. After learning about the Pick of Destiny, Jack and Kyle embark on a long and bizarre quest to find it. But little did they know, it was sitting on my desk this whole time. They eventually find and steal it from the Rock and Roll Museum, but before one of them can use it, they both break it. Now what happens next is what we'll be looking at in depth, but we're not going to be looking at this scene portrayed in the movie. Instead, we'll look at the next scene as it's portrayed on stage. In 2007, Tenacious D performed their theatrical film on stage. This included set pieces and a cast of iconic musicians like the Antichrist and Colonel Sanders on drums.
Colonel, put the chicken in the grease!
It's kind of like a rock opera meets Broadway type of deal. Just use Repo the Genetic Opera as context and you'll follow along just fine. These performances were released on DVD as the Complete Masterworks 1 and 2. The performance we're looking at is Bezel Boss from Masterworks 2. What does Bezel Boss mean, you might ask? Well, on Urban Dictionary it reads, "The devil himself. He cannot be complete without his tooth, the pick of destiny. So if you give it to him,
you're fucked."
The video starts with their guitar player, Antichrist, telling them that his dad wants to play a song with them.
Wait a second, you mean your dad's Satan?
All of a sudden, the devil runs on stage, proclaiming that the band is now in hell. He's loud, he's red, and he's dressed to the nines. He's also played by Tenacious D's biggest fan, Lee.
Yeah! Dudes!
Now, we can already see how this version of the devil differs from Danny Webster's. For one, he's a guy, but most noticeably he's red all over, with horns and spikes on his head. But just like in Danny Webster, the devil here is playful and full of curiosity. He really just wants to play metal.
I'm the devil, I love metal!
The devil tells Tenacious D that the reason that they're in hell is because they sold their souls to help the band. But just like in the movie, they challenge the devil to a rock-off in order to null and void their contract. The duo goes back to Earth if they win, but what does the devil get?
You can take Cage down to double hell!
Good idea. Now you're thinking of
What the
What isn't in the movie is the part about selling their souls. They fight the devil in the movie because they want the pick of destiny back, but obviously the stakes are much higher here. The devil begins his song and it's kind of everything you'd expect. Crunchy guitar riffs, heavy cymbal work, grandiose lyrics, all things indicative of metal. Now there are more subgenres of metal than there are fans of metal, but metal music has long been associated with Satan and biblical imagery. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that here, but I'll leave a Loudwire video in the description that really just analyzes how and why metal musicians use the devil as inspiration in their music. So after the devil performs his magnum opus, the D are dumbfounded. How in the world could they possibly defeat the devil at his own craft? It's just like Cage says.
He rocks too hard because he's not a mortal man.
But the band tries their hardest, and I honestly prefer this song to Satan's number.
It's a fucking lame. Come on, KG, you're coming with me. No!
But nevertheless, the devil calls Tenacious D lame, and he tries to take Cage down to double hell, I guess, because they're already in hell. I don't know how that works. And just like in the film, the D fight back against the one being you should not be able to fight. Since the devil is now incomplete, he's powerless. An interesting concept that helps to distinguish this devil from both our previous piece of media and our final one.
And we always thought that seamlessly video games and cartoons share a unity. There's a lack of pain, an infinite depth structure that's involved in both. So when we realized that nobody has really picked a truly animated game like you would a cartoon, we just decided to give it a shot.
Initially, I had a big problem in the planning stage of this video. I knew I wanted to talk about 3 different things, but I was really conflicted about what I was going to analyze last. There was one part of me that really wanted to talk about a game, and there was another part of me that really wanted to talk about an animation. I was stumped, but then it hit me like a blood punch. There's something out there in the entertainment zeitgeist that checks all the boxes, meets all the criteria. It's both a video game and a cartoon. It's an indie project, and it literally has Deal with the Devil in the title. I'm of course talking about Cuphead. This indie game really took the world by storm when it released in September of 2017, but the tumultuous journey of creating Cuphead is equally as fascinating as the game itself. Cuphead was originally going to be much shorter, but that all changed in 2014 when a teaser trailer for it was shown off at E3. The fan response was so grand and far-reaching that the 2 people creating the game decided to gamble with their souls and quit their day jobs to devote all the time and money in the world into making something truly special.
I still haven't paid my property tax in years.
Thankfully, their deal with the devil worked out, and the game has sold over 6 million copies as of this video's publishing. The long 7-year development process of Cuphead warrants a video in and of itself, but we're here to talk about the story in the game, not the story of it. So let's roll the dice and try not to get snake eyes, shall we? The game begins by ripping off Shrek and telling the story of 2 brothers from Inkwell, Cuphead and Mugman. These two peas in a pod decide to venture just beyond their city limits and end up in the Devil's Casino? Yet another example of how the devil is a metaphor for sin. This time it's greed. Cuphead and Mugman then hustle their way to victory at the craps table. Please tell me these dice over here aren't this guy's balls. Cuphead and Mugman are kicking so much ass, in fact, that they get the attention of the casino owner himself, the devil. We're no stranger to this, you guys. The devil comes out all sly and cunning and offers to make a deal with anthropomorphic kitchenware. He tells the guys that he'll give them all of the riches in the casino if they win a game of craps just one more time. But if they lose, well, you know. Without hesitation, Cuphead swipes the dice from the devil's paw and rolls them. God, just look at Mugman. He knows he's fucked. Good gosh, Cuphead, no! Cuphead loses, of course, and he and Mugman plead with the devil to not take their souls, to perhaps pay him in some other way, and with that, the devil offers them another deal. Collect the souls of his runaway debtors. And the entire game is pretty much just that, just some boss fights. Although there are plenty of parts of the game that feel more like a traditional platformer, and the mausoleums are a nice change of pace after fighting someone like Grim Matchstick. After getting special powers from the sentient tea kettle, Cuphead embarks on a quest to collect all of the debtors' souls. Something that instantly catches your attention while playing this game is just how well it pays homage to 1930s cartoons. Everything, to the watercolored backgrounds, to the character designs, to the dialogue, to the sound effects. And especially the upbeat jazzy soundtrack make this game stand out not only amongst our other two pieces of media, but amongst all other indie games. But speaking of 1930s cartoons, let's get a good look at our devil. So unlike the devil in Bezel Boss and Danny Webster, the devil here is black, not red, and he's also a furry. He does have horns, but not hoofed feet, and he wields a scepter. That's noteworthy since the devil in Bezel Boss and the devil in Danny Webster both didn't use weapons, they used magic. When Cuphead finally collects all of the debtors' souls, he returns to the casino only to have Dice Man here challenge him as well. Fortunately, Cuphead is able to defeat him too, and promptly marches up to the devil, looks him straight in the eye, and says, "I can't do this!" There are actually two endings in Cuphead. The good one in which you don't give up the souls and fight the devil, and once you beat him in his own domicile, all of the Inkwell residents are free and no longer evil. And then there's where you do give the devil the souls you've collected and he takes you to hell anyways. If you do choose the good ending, and you absolutely should, you'll be treated to one of the most visually satisfying final boss fights I've ever seen. The devil sits on his throne in the depths of hell, all the while fighting Cuphead. He throws out attacks such as going all Mr. Fantastic and extending his arms and clapping his hands together, and extending his whole neck to become some kind of centipede-like beast. After defeating him the first time, you go further into the depths of hell to literally face off with him. He sends all kinds of demons out to kill you, but none of them get the job done, forcing him to surrender. Out of all the depictions of the devil we saw, I gotta say, you guys, this one is my favorite. I mean, he's a cartoon character. The creative freedom is just boundless. The Moldenhauer brothers may have been inspired by the golden age of cartoons, but that time may be now, considering how games like Cuphead are inspiring up-and-coming animators. To everybody at Studio MDHR, you're forever in my debt because you gave us a devil we'd never forget. The Devil and Danny Webster, Tenacious D, and Cuphead each tell a story that makes us think about our humanity. They each tell us stories of characters who want happiness, fame, and riches so badly that they give up their quote-unquote souls for it. The idea that our physical bodies are separate from some abstract force that is us, our behaviors, our thoughts, our emotions, is a tough thing to grasp. And these Deal with the Devil stories help to reinforce that, but I think they do that for a very specific reason. The message I interpret from these works of fiction is that if you want something, anything, you shouldn't compromise yourself to get it. But still, the religious aspect is so blatant with the selling of the soul. Perhaps if the modern world was much less secular today, stories like these may not have been created to begin with. Maybe the characters in these stories would think twice about selling something that was all that they really were. Or maybe it's just the opposite. Maybe stories like these are being created because we still live in a world that is seething with religious influence. Despite how secular the developed world is today, a lot of people still believe in the idea of the soul. This right here is Soul, a Pixar movie about a literal soul of a man who died on Earth. This isn't ancient history. This movie came out in 2020. Clearly, for better or for worse, we are intrigued by the idea of souls. But this is just my interpretation, and I'd like to hear yours in the comments, so feel free to leave one if you disagree or agree, or if you have something else to say. That's gonna do it for our journey through hell, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video if you liked it. Leave a comment, like I said earlier, if you have something more to say. See you sinners next time.